You're listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity, hosted by Darrell Burrow, a Georgia-based personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience and founder of Burrow and Associates. With a background in both legal strategy and compassionate client care, Darrell has helped over 10,000 individuals and families navigate life after injury. Guided by his Christian faith and a deep sense of justice, he brings expert insight, personal stories, and powerful interviews to every episode. If you're looking for truth, support, and clarity in the aftermath of an accident, this is your place. This is Crashes, Claims, and Clarity.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crashes, Claims, and Clarity. I am your host, Darrell Burrow. I'm the owner of Burrow and Associates. We are a law firm here based in Duluth, Georgia, and can practice and service all of the state of Georgia. We appreciate you joining us today, and certainly want to welcome our next guest is Dr. Arthur Lee Matthews. He is a chiropractor and the founder of RC Chiropractic and Personal Injury Centers. He's going to tell us all about himself and his practice and some cutting-edge techniques that he has used and developed. He's got over 15 years of clinical experience specializing in chiropractic, personal injury care and recovery, all types of modalities based on helping people and improving and getting them back to wellness. He has something cutting edge that he calls corporate America office syndrome. We will certainly be getting into that during part of the interview today. He certainly is patient focused, and I appreciate you joining me, Dr. Matthews. Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, first of all, tell us a little bit just about your background and how you got to a point where you started RC Chiropractic and Personal Injury Centers.
Well, been doing this, like you said, a little over 15 years and whatnot. And I was a starting pitcher at Jackson State University. I was having some back issues and I couldn't lose my scholarship. So my dad and I just sat in a hotel room, found a chiropractor deep in the heart of Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, that is. And within 3 days, that low back pain was gone. And I was diagnosed at the university hospital for surgery. And so after seeing Dr. R for 3 days, my back pain was dissipated. And that's what got me into chiropractic truly. And ever since then, I've been on a mission to help as many people as I can. And RC Chiropractic, RC really stands for Rainbow City. My dad had a mom and pop grocery store in Boynton Beach, Florida, where I was born and raised since the age of 10 years old till I graduated chiropractic school. And just to keep that going a little bit, we named it RC Chiropractic. So that's the origins of that. And we are a fully based chiropractic office. We treat everybody from car accidents to low back pain from gardening, from tennis players to pickleball players to football players, and of course, people who work in the office setting. And that's where the basis for the chaos, the corporate America office syndrome comes from.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. And you're dealing with it. I'm sure you see a lot of people. The most common injury might be from automobile accidents. What symptoms do you see that people may be ignoring or keeping them out of your office, out of once they've had an injury like that?
Well, usually in that scenario right there, dangerous symptoms are the quiet ones. And that's neck stiffness, that's headaches, that's low back tightness. There could be tingling and numbness in the arms or legs, shoulder, and jaw pain from seatbelt impact. As a matter of fact, TMJ, or jaw injury due to an automobile accident, really doesn't happen or notice or show its face until about 6 to 8 weeks into care. A patient comes in and says, wow, my mouth's really just, this clicking just started and whatnot. And that's really when the dysfunction has just shown its ugly head. And it's usually about 6 to 8 weeks into the treatment. And so I always have to make sure at that point I'm asking, hey, any jaw pain or anything like that. But, shoulder and jaw pain from, again, the seatbelt impact, dizziness, fatigue, poor sleep, or even brain fog. People don't understand that. Even if you're not think you're not injured and all of a sudden you just can't get enough rest or your body just can't seem to get out of a funk, it is from that automobile accident. And then, of course, there's also swelling or heaviness from lymphatic disruption. Your lymphatic system just is running all over you, and basically it only circulates when you move. And so if you're having a brain fog, you're not feeling well, that can get clogged up also. So if a symptom starts after an accident, even if it seems minor, it's accident related until proven otherwise.
I could immediately see from some of the symptoms you just described that people would not initially think that this is something that I need chiropractic help with. So I see that as a large misunderstanding. Can you identify, or have you identified other misunderstandings about people seeking chiropractic care after an injury like this?
Yeah, sure. So people think chiropractic is just pain relief or optional, but chiropractic care documents functional loss, not just pain. So it restores function, nervous system regulation, biomechanics. So it creates objective records critical, especially for injury claims. So chiropractic care isn't just treatment, it's documentation of injury and recovery.
Okay. What documentation mistakes have you seen in your history and in your past?
Well, as far as documentation, during the case history, if we're just talking about someone walking in the door, them not telling the whole story. You have to tell the whole
Okay.
story when you walk in and you're getting evaluated for a motor vehicle accident. It's utterly important to the actual journey for your treatment. And if we're finding out something that should have been said early on, oh, doc, I forgot to tell you. And sometimes they do forget, but usually the head hitting the door or the jerking whiplash motion and things like that, if they're not seriously hurt and adrenaline has taken over, those little things, the knee hitting the dashboard, those are the little things that we need to know. And if they're omitted, and then later on down the line, we've got this knee pain from somewhere, or now we're getting headaches from somewhere, well, definitely we needed to know that so that we could document and then track that till it heals, and we can show through documentation that's not a problem anymore.
Okay. I want to circle back. You mentioned that a lot of the, or some of the symptoms, the onset, or at least the individual having an indication of that symptom, doesn't happen right away. What
Hmm.
type of office protocols do you have so that, hey, you're treating this person, but they have something that shows up 4 weeks later, 6 weeks, 6 weeks later?
Yeah. Well, of course, again, we're always taking mini exams. So, hey, how did you feel the last time that you were here? It's been a few days and whatnot. Has anything new showed up? And then later on in the treatment, like I said, there's just certain protocols that we do. TMJ checkup. We also want to make sure that we're looking at diagnostic imaging, so MRIs, because a lot of times disc herniations or disc bulges, they will not start showing up until several weeks into care. And so we got to make sure that we're asking those sort of questions each and every time they come in, as far as, hey, from one appointment to the next appointment, because they all piggyback on each other. And then missing care is another big thing with patients that, they come, but then all of a sudden they stop showing up and then they come back, hey, I'm hurting and things like that. Gaps in treatment is a case killer. And we really emphasize that. If they're not coming, we call the attorney, hey, patient A isn't coming. And so the lawyer can now call them and say, hey, get back in there so you can have this care, because gaps in treatment also affect the patient's bottom line, not only their health, but their bottom line also at the end of the case.
Yeah. In my office for years and years, we hear, oh, your person didn't treat right away. It took them how many ever weeks or whatever. And then we also hear, oh, well, they weren't seriously hurt. They didn't keep their appointments like they were supposed to.
Hmm.
What advice, or what would you want to tell people that have an accident or an injury like this, but they want to take kind of a wait and see approach, or I don't feel that bad, or it's going to get better, all the things that you and I have both heard for many years?
Well, time will tell. And see, those minor injuries, again, they build into major injuries. And people wonder why, hey, I haven't had a history of headaches before. I had this car accident And now I didn't go to treatment, or I didn't treat treatment seriously. I didn't tell everything that I should have told the doctor and whatnot. And so now I'm starting to experience migraines, or now I'm starting to experience headaches more so than I've ever
Mm.
experienced before. And they can't pinpoint it, but it all falls back into that car accident and them not following the protocol to get them well and taking. And I realize it's a detour to come to my office 2 to 3 times a week at first, and then we kind of, as you heal, we kind of decrease the frequency of visits. But I understand it's a detour, but it's a necessary detour because it's your health. And I understand about responsibilities, but you will not be able to fulfill those responsibilities unless you're in the office.
Yep, agreed. Agreed. Now, we mentioned in the opening this corporate America office syndrome. Explain that to us, and how did you come up with that? And tell me all
And
about that.
yeah, so when I was an associate early on in my career, I was over in the Marietta area treating the Galleria area over there where they had a lot of headquarters. So I think like racetrack and things like that. And so I would do all of my marketing in that area. So naturally, the fallout from that was I had people who were in that scene, the corporate America scene, coming to the office. And what I noticed after the first year is that all these signs and symptoms were the same: pain in the shoulders, pain in the neck. I'm having headaches, or my hips are hurting from sitting all day, or my low back is hurting from sitting all day. And so I just put that all together, and it's really a spinoff of the office syndrome that was discovered in the 80s. And so, of course, these people work in corporate America. So that's where the corporate America office syndrome comes from. And I did trademark that because I thought it was a nice niche, because chaos, chaos, means disarray and whatnot. And so chaos kind of spins off of that, but it just pertains to the human body. And so there's specific signs and symptoms, like I just mentioned: headaches, neck pain, top of the shoulder pain, in between the shoulder pain, between the shoulder blades, lower back pain from sitting all day in a certain position. And as we know, just through social media and whatnot, sitting is the new smoking. And so I
Mm.
came up with a protocol to treat that. And I get about 63% reduction in signs and symptoms when you follow the 6 week plan.
And what different techniques or modalities are involved with that?
Well, it's what's funny is that, and I can say this, every chiropractor actually treats the corporate America office syndrome, except that they don't follow a certain protocol. So I listen to the signs and symptoms, and then I find out which technique works best for that individual. And there's a number of techniques: traditional chiropractic, non-traditional. Non-traditional meaning we use an extension of our hands, where we have a little apparatus like this, and this is what we use to adjust toddlers, infants, young people, the elderly, retirement age people who just can't withstand the traditional chiropractic means. So there's a really low force part of chiropractic that can really work. It might take a little longer. And then, of course, on the other hand, there's the traditional that everybody knows about that works also. And it's kind of a mixture in between the two. And it's all about timing. Within the chaos, it's all about the timing of the techniques and meshing of the techniques that really gets the results that you're looking for. And that's when we get over 40, 50% into that 63 or 60% range of relief from signs and symptoms.
Wow, wow. That's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. You were telling me about some other cutting edge techniques and things that you're involved with. I think one you mentioned was PC4G. That
Yeah,
is that.
PC4G, that's precision care for golfers. There is a very fine tuning method technique that I use. It's actually called the Hat Rack Synergy Systems, and it was taught to me from Dr. Hat Rack himself. And basically, and he was the chiropractor for the Kansas City Chiefs and also the Philadelphia Eagles and whatnot. And with elite athletes, even though everybody's body is like a sports car, or can be compared to a sports car, not everybody takes care of their body like a sports car should be taken care of. Well, with elite athletes, we all know that they take care of their bodies because they have to perform at a high level. So they're not dealing with some of the same issues that the layperson like you and I are dealing with. They are dealing with more so higher advanced injuries And they're not necessarily injuries. They're little twerks, as some of them call them, where they call me and they say, "Hey, doc, I'm feeling off.
Hmm.
Can you tune me up?"
Okay.
And that's a term that's used across the board in this technique. I tune up elite athletes. And so precision care for golf, because golf is so technical, if you've ever played the game or if you're serious about it, we know that it's very, very technical. And we know that when something is off, everything can go wrong. And so when we're over that ball and whatnot, we need to be on an even plane, or we need to be in the best stance that we can. And this technique enhances that stance. We hand measure your hips, and then we hand measure your spine, or not your spine, your tailbone, what the spine sits on. And then the third thing we do, now we get to the spine, and we use high-tech machinery from former NASA engineers. They're bone setting machines. So there's no traditional laying down on your side and then we just move you over and then now we're cracking bones and things like that. No, we are evaluating you from a fine tuning standpoint, and it's very little traditional chiropractic, and it's more
Huh.
down to degrees that we adjust you with our bone setting machine.
Okay. You mentioned lymphatic drainage.
Drainage, yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so one thing that doesn't have a recession in this economy is cosmetic surgery. There are plenty of people who are paying out of pocket to have liposuction 360, BBLs, breast augmentation, transformations, and things like that. And so, whenever there's trauma to the body, as anybody knows, if you sprained an ankle or if you've been stung by a bee, that fluid will accumulate in that area. Well, that fluid is lymphatic fluid, and that's to protect
Okay.
that area and whatnot. And so when you're getting these major surgeries, the body doesn't read our books. It doesn't know, hey, I'm just getting a lipo 360 procedure here. No, it thinks
Okay.
it's a traumatic experience, and it sends fluid to that area. And any surgeon will tell you that you need to remove that fluid out of there as soon as possible, as much as possible, in order to get the contours or the shape that you're looking for. And if you do not do that and that fluid just sits there, well, now you get fibrotic tissue and ugly lumps that you just don't want.
Mm,
And so we have a machine, acoustic sound wave machine, shock wave, that not only with do we do manual lymphatic drainage, meaning we use our hands to remove the fluid, we use this powerful machine, and this machine is so powerful they actually use it in veterinary services for on horses and whatnot. So we will not run out of power doing this. And what this does is that it creates sound waves. We put that into the injured tissue, and that helps us move along that lymphatic fluid at a faster rate, especially when coupled with, again, manual lymphatic drainage where we're using our hands. So it's an awesome technique. It's really taken off for us.
that's great. That's great. Good explanation too. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Going back to chaos, the corporate America office syndrome of businesses that are out there, and I think the bulk of them are probably small businesses, but what do you believe larger corporations that can do it, are they offering anything as far as corporate wellness programs are concerned? Or do they not have that? Or if they do have it, do you find that people just aren't taking advantage of anything offered?
Yeah, well, back in the day when this first started and I was out there, Coca-Cola does a good job on with their wellness programs. They allot a certain amount of money to make sure that their workers are in an ergonomically friendly atmosphere and whatnot. And a lot of employees don't know that their company does have a wellness program. It's not so readily advertised and whatnot. They have a wellness program where if you ask, they'll get you a chair. If you ask, they'll change your workstation up and all sorts of things. And I am trained in coming in and looking at an ergonomic situation and saying, well, this has to go, and then we need to add this and whatnot. I do come in. I have an office appreciation program where I come in and I do free 10-minute chair massages for whatever size company. So, like you mentioned, the smaller companies and whatnot. I've done office appreciation in companies with 3 people, and I've done office appreciation for companies with 300 people. And so it's all about designating the days and then a contact person, a sign up sheet so we don't interrupt the flow of the day. And then that also gives me good eyes on what they're working with. And then I can talk to HR and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing right here. And if the company has the room, I even come in, and I've done this also. I've come in, set up shop, and have treated chiropractically in the office while they are at work, just so that we can be efficient. And it really shows that a company cares about their employees. And that's what people are looking for when they're putting in all these dog hours at the computer. And in order to be a candidate for the chaos, one of it is if you work on average 5 to 7 hours a day on the computer, and some people are above that 2 or 3 times. Some people are
Mm-hmm.
doing 12 hours a day. It's really amazing.
That's awesome that you give back to the community in that way. What are some other things that your office does or you do that give back to the community?
Well, we just this past Christmas, we were down at the Atlanta Children's Shelter right off of, oh man, what was that? Well, it's right across from the JR Crickets. I like chicken wings like that. From the JR Crickets downtown,
We
and
all do.
whatnot. So, if you really want to know how bad it really is and how good you really have it, you need to volunteer at your local children's shelter and see that this world needs our help, and we have more than enough to survive and be well in this world, because these children are put in situations that they didn't ask to be in. And so they need our help. And so through my golf club, the Players Circle, we volunteer at the children's shelter in Atlanta. And this year, we just went down there with bicycles, and the bicycles need to be new or barely used. If you want to donate, and if anyone wants to do that, I can help them out with that. Of course, they take funding, but there was just so many toys and things like that. And what they do is they organize all of this, put it in categories, and then the parents of these children come in and they just shop like it's a regular store, and they go around and they get gifts, they wrap the gifts, and then on the way out, now they have wrapped gifts to give the kids at Christmas. They have a daycare downstairs. They help the parents find jobs. It's really a great situation for a very bleak situation and a lot of these kids' environment and whatnot. And they would not have a chance, some of these children, if it wasn't for the volunteers, if it wasn't for the staff that's there, who's understanding, caring, and they find the resources to help these children out. And we're going to, not only the Player Circle Golf Club, but RC Chiropractic is going to, dive deep into that to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do. Because after this year, I felt like it's just a obligation that we need to do. Yeah, and it's not just about feeling good. It's about doing your duty as a human being to help
Right,
others
right.
if you feel that way.
It sounds like a great and awesome work, and thank you for your service there and continued service with that group. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, not everybody is in your locale. What kind of advice would you give to folks that are in different parts of the city or different parts of our state when they may be looking for a chiropractor?
Well, first of all, if you're in a motor vehicle accident, you need a chiropractor that understands personal injury. Some of my colleagues do not do personal injury. They don't want to do personal injury. And so if you're in a car accident, you need to make sure that chiropractor does personal injury on a regular basis, because you will see them the most, and then they will be referring you out to different entities to make sure that you are covered, and that we need that you get, or when I say that you get, each client, each patient gets the necessary diagnostic work like MRIs or going to see the orthopedist or even physical therapy. And then my specialty also, that are not even a lot of chiropractors who are in personal injury, is I'm also a MUA specialist, manipulation under anesthesia specialist. So when traditional chiropractic care doesn't work, when the imaging is there, when the medical necessity is there, now we use anesthesia to put you asleep. And then I do different techniques there that you will not allow me to do when you're in a conscious state. Okay. And so I kind of use the wet noodle effect. You have that 10-year-old who's been on a long trip. He's asleep in the car, or the toddler's asleep in the car, and you lift him up to bring him into the house, and he's like a wet noodle. And that's what the anesthesia does. is that it knocks you out. So now I can work through that frozen shoulder, the adhesions, and now
Okay.
I can stretch the neck past where we need to stretch that you won't let me do in the office. But this is all after traditional care is just hasn't worked. And so that's what an MUA specialist does. And so that's what makes RC Chiropractic unique in the personal injury realm is that, we utilize every part of our scope of practice in personal injury to make sure that the client gets what they need. So just make sure your chiropractor is personal injury friendly, meaning he or she does personal injury. That's what they do.
Okay. Yeah, good advice. So for the people that are in your area, and we're talking about elite athletes, regular folks, anybody that's been injured in any kind of way, tell us where they can find you.
Well, there's two offices. I'm in Buckhead, 3155 Roswell Road, right behind the Bank of America building, right down the street from the Iberian Pig. And I also have a Berkeley Lake office also, and that is 4711 Pleasant Hill Road, right on the border of Duluth and Berkeley Lake here. We just opened a new facility. It's bigger, it's better. We really love it. And yeah, those are the two that you can find us. 844-722-4407 is the number. And yeah, we hope that you give us a call.
It's been good. It's been a pleasure. I'm so thankful for folks like you that are using cutting edge techniques to help folks, but also doing wonderful things to help our community as a whole. We appreciate you. We appreciate you joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you.
God bless you and have a great 2026.
Yes, sir. And wait, let me give you this. It's 844-722-4470. 844-722-4470. I said the first number wrong, and I apologize for that.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Take care.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye bye.
You've been listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity with attorney Darrell Burrow, founder of Burrow & Associates and a trusted advocate for over 30 years. If today's episode helped bring clarity or hope after an accident, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. To connect with Darrell or learn more, visit legalatlanta.com. Join us next week for another honest, faith-centered conversation about recovery, rights, and moving forward after injury.